Hello again, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. It's blog number 3 today. Cool. So basically, in the last video, I spoke about anxiety and what I did and how to manage it. Yeah, thank you for all the likes on that and the comments. Appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about worrying. So this is something that I've been struggling with recently a lot more, but I've been having it in the past quite a bit. It's gotten a bit bad recently. These are basically where I've had thoughts of just thinking like things are going to go wrong. I'm seeing a lot of negativity in the future. I'm thinking about thoughts of like, what's this going to happen? Or this particular event that's coming up. I'm having a bad feeling it's going to go wrong. It's going to lead to this problem, which is going to lead to me to get into this kind of trouble, etc. I've been struggling with it the past few months, so I kind of wanted to make a video about it because I've been thinking about it recently, worrying, and I've been through harder stuff in my life before, like hard obstacles, but recently I've just been a lot more worrisome about future events, like little things stressing me out for some reason. But you know, it's like I almost want things to go the right way. I'm worried like everything's going to go wrong. So in this video, I just wanted to talk about it. So the way I want to structure worrying, basically, I was going to talk about the science about worrying in this video, but I feel like I don't know how many people are interested in that. So what I did was instead, I've done like a quick summary about like the different lobes of the brain that are involved with worrying. I've put that in my Substack article that I'll link in the description of this video. So yeah, I'll let you guys, well, you guys can look in the description to see. And then basically, in this video, I'll talk about like why we worry, what it is, my journey with it, and like how I'm dealing with it. And the goal of the video is basically to enhance your understanding on what worrying is and basically learn a few tips that I've been, researching and actually implementing. So to help you out. So if you're like a worrier like me, hopefully it helps you out. And obviously the tips hopefully help you. Let me know in the comments if these tips that I mentioned and stuff later on help you out. And yeah, let's get on with it. Yeah, so the first question now says, what is worrying? So, in my opinion, worrying is like where your brain has a negative thought pattern about your future. So, you ask yourself a lot of like what if questions, and like they tend to be not what if in a good way, but what if in a bad way. So, like, what if this goes wrong? What if this goes in a negative way? And normally, what it tends to lead you feeling is more anxious, more stressed, quite uneasy. For me, where my negative thoughts would go, I would kind of focus on things that I couldn't control, so things I couldn't do much about. It showed that many brain centers are involved with worrying. But obviously, like I said before, I've put them in my Substack post. I'll link it in the description of the video. Check it out if you want. But yeah, that's basically what worrying is essentially. But basically, think of worrying like your brain is thinking about problems that may happen, but the situation or the worrying event in your head kind of leaves you feeling really anxious and scared about it because your brain tends to think about it in a negative way because it's not positive. If you use that future event as really negative and that it's going to go really bad, the problem is over time, with me anyway, these thoughts have kind of become progressively more catastrophic and definitely like more unlikely to happen. And in general, with my worrying and like worrying in general, you tend to focus on things you don't have control over, and sometimes the thoughts can seem super controllable. Like there's not a lot you can do about it. For me, it would lead to like lots of like sleepless nights. I wouldn't sleep much at all. And then when I got to the time where I had to focus on a task that I feared, I found that they were a lot harder to do. I just really struggle. So yeah, but basically, I always think to myself, well, if this is such like a negative thought pattern and the worrying is not helping you do the things that you're scared of, then why did your brain do it? The way I think of it is like it's like your brain is basically trying to protect you, but in reality, it's basically if it gets too bad, it does more harm than good. So the way I think about worrying is like it's like a mutated form of problem solving. Your brain thinks that by worrying, it's preventing bad things from happening. So for me, when I used to stress out my exams, which I mentioned in my previous anxiety video, um, you can check that out if you want. It's a previous video I mentioned about anxiety and how I felt, but I think basically when I was stressing about my exams, I used to worry all the time that it would go wrong. What if I failed? I'd end up dropping out and doing a job that I didn't want to do. What if I don't know the answers to the exam? And in the end, it all went really well. But now that I look back on it, it seems like my brain thought that the reason I passed all those exams and I did well was because I worried. So not only was like worrying being reinforced into every exam I was doing, it seemed my brain was also starting to translate it in all other aspects of my life. So everything in my life apart from like studying stuff that I was working on. So basically, after doing some research and testing some methods out, I basically realized like basically worrying is like a faulty form of thinking. It's your brain thinks that worrying is trying to keep you safe, but it's faulty. It's not helping you. So I realized for me anyway, I needed to reframe my thoughts to enable me to better handle challenges that I was facing in my life. The next part we'll be talking about is about when did my worry start. So I'd say probably when I used to apply myself to stuff. That's normally when I would start to worry a lot more. My brain would used to race. It'd be about work, maybe going to the gym, maybe about when talking to new people. I'd just be like, if it was at work, I'd be like, oh God, how is this going to get done if this X person isn't here? What if I can't do enough? What if I don't hit these targets? Or like, if I would come to talk to my friends, like, how would they think of me today? The way I'm talking, are they judging me? Or my hair looks bad? Or they don't like the way I look? Or what if I say something that they don't like? Or like, they're not interested in? Or like even when going to the gym, like, oh gosh, hope I can get this PR. Or I beat myself up quite badly. Or like, oh, you didn't hit that PR, you messed up and stuff. And I remember that the worry was getting really bad to the point where I wasn't sleeping very well a lot of nights. So I would worry about future, what if things go wrong? What if this goes badly? And that kind of thing. And at my gym, we do this thing like a high rocks class. And I remember I hadn't slept well for like 3 or 4 days. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not feeling really good today. And I was just pushing myself and then literally almost blacking out. Like I went to the toilet and then literally came out of it because I felt really dizzy. I had to stop for 1 second. I remember just slamming into the wall and like my vision blacked for like a second or two. I couldn't see anything. And then luckily there were nice people in the gym who helped me out. They sat me down, got me some juice to help me rehydrate, feel better. And I remember coming home that day just feeling my worry thoughts went like through the roof. I was actually thinking, oh my God, that went badly. People must have been laughing at me for that. Like, oh my God, that was so embarrassing. How did that even happen? But I knew it was because of the worrying and, the accumulative stress, the cortisol levels in my body must have been sky high. And I sat to myself when I got home and just thinking that, this really can't continue anymore. These worrying thoughts are kind of hindering me for what I could achieve. And it's like, I need to get them under control and try to almost like essentially rewire my brain when it comes to worry and try to reframe it into something positive to help me do things that I'm trying to get done in my life pretty much. Yeah, I've tried a number of tips and things to help me with it. That's what I wanted to share in the next part of the video, just basically telling you guys these are like the things that have worked for me. And hopefully if you give them a try, let me know in the comments if they work for you. Hopefully they do. Yeah, obviously I'll share them now. Cool. I say step one would be looking after yourself. This is like the very basics. You'd be surprised of when you're anxious or you worry a lot, how much you don't look after yourself. You get drowned in those worry thoughts and the anxiety and stuff, and you just think to yourself, I'm getting consumed by it. And then other things that you care about or basic things, look after yourself, you just don't do. So basically I started doing things like eating cleaner, eating less junk, getting more exercise in, going to the gym, cardio, stretching, obviously weight resistance training. It doesn't have to be gym, it can be anything. It can literally be like any exercise class or something that's active that you like to do. Also prioritizing sleep, because sleep is linked to loads of like chronic health problems, things like diabetes, high blood pressure, like stroke risk, that kind of thing. So having sleep is really helps with worrisome thoughts. And I'm going to make another video on sleep in the future. I'll make some clips for that to help you out, just help with sleep. Because I notice when I don't sleep, I'm definitely a lot more like emotionally volatile. I'm more stressed. I worry a lot more. So yeah, basically first part is looking after yourself, doing things that you like. Second bit is, I've tried it before, it's called scheduled worry time. Don't know if anyone's already known about that. Basically, I made a clip on it already, but basically you have a time in the day where you schedule worry time in. So that could be like 6 p.m, 5 p.m. I just say don't do it probably at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. Try and do it somewhere in the middle of the day. I do mine at 6 o'clock or 6:30. Basically, you have a worry in the day, you notice that your brain notices that you're worrying, and then you pick a time in the day where you're going to think about it. And basically what you do is, it basically teaches your brain that it can trust you basically to deal with your worries. What happens is, let's say you get the worrisome thought in the morning, and then you tell yourself, okay, we're not going to worry about it now, we're going to do something about it at 6 o'clock. What I notice is most of the time when it comes to that 6 o'clock time, I've kind of already forgot about what the worry was because I've been so busy in the day, and I've obviously not worried about it because I've scheduled it to be done at that particular time. But sometimes obviously the worry will still be there. 6 o'clock, you basically just do I do like a journal dump. So I basically write what's worrying me, why is it worrying me, how's it making me feel, what am I going to do about it, is it something that I can control, and is it something that I can't control. If it's something I can control, I'll do the best of my ability to control that particular thing. If it's something that is out of my remit of control, I'm just trying to teach my brain that wherever will be, Obviously, easier said than done. It's something I'm still working on. It's quite hard. When you're anxious, you tend to focus on things you can't do anything about. So try practice it, keep doing it. Obviously, if it's small worries, hopefully later today you'll forget about it. If not, then obviously you spend that time dealing with it, and hopefully your brain will over time learn that you'll deal with your worries, and also that the worries might not be as bad as they seem. Okay, then the next one would be, it's a method I've seen on YouTube channel called Therapy in a Nutshell. I've mentioned it in my anxiety video, but obviously I'm mentioning her here again. This is basically her kind of method of how to basically help with like worrisome thoughts. So step one is like going sitting in a quiet place. Then basically step two was, with the situation in your mind, write down that the thing you're worrying about, write down what it's going to look like when everything goes well. So it goes well, there's no wrong. So then basically the third step would be like, how do you recover from that stumble? So if something goes wrong in a day, I know you're thinking that, oh, that's also making me worried, that could go wrong. How would you recover from it? What are things that you can do that, will get you back into a better place, and how you can deal with that problem? Step four would be thinking about your ultimate hope of like, ultimate source of like hope and strength. So things for me, I think about like family, friends, God, things that basically mean a lot to me and that keep me going when I'm feeling stressed. Step five, step five is basically you create a mental picture of yourself doing that thing. So doing the thing that scares you. Basically, the way I do it is I try to imagine it as much detail as possible. So I do it as like even how I'm feeling in the moment, what I'm smelling, what I'm touching, that kind of thing. And then base step six would be try to visualize that that good scenario several times a day. It gives your body that confidence that it's going to go well. Don't try to get you out of the negative thinking cycle, and try to train you to think more positively. Therapy in a nutshell is where I got the method from. And it's really helpful, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I'm worrying, really helps. So give it a try. And then another one is like, I'll try to like challenge my thoughts. So basically, like when I notice that I'm worrying, I'll pinpoint it. I'll try to tell myself stop believing in it, and then try to redirect my attention to the thoughts that I get, and then basically try to redirect them to things that like mean a lot more to me, and like trying to imagine what it would look like in that situation when it all works out. Obviously, not to say it all work out. Life is certain. You can't guarantee everything. There are things you can control and things you can't. But basically, I'm showing my brain that like, okay, it could go wrong, because when you have negative thoughts, you tend to think of the worst thing possible. But I'm telling my body like, if this is a potential outcome, a good outcome, why can't it happen? I've also practiced something called cognitive diffusion. So it's basically it's like a cool psychology term. It's basically, I've been practicing it. Give it a try if you want to give it a try. It's basically where you have worrisome thoughts in your head, and basically instead of like resisting them, you basically see the thought, you don't elaborate on it, it's just there, and you just let it go. From the same YouTube channel, it was like an analogy where, imagine like you're next to a river, and each of the thoughts that make you worry are basically on a leaf. And then basically you sit at the end of the river and you watch the leaf go down the river, and you watch as the leaf slowly moves down, it moves out of your sight. You're just letting the thought come and go. You don't think on it. And then what happens is, I've noticed when I think negatively, and I do that sometimes when I sit to myself and do this cognitive diffusion method, it makes negative thoughts weaker, and it makes them a lot less likely to appear. I don't seem as worried anymore. But obviously, like, practice makes perfect. At the minute, I think I've mentioned it before, it's on my clips on my YouTube channel, practicing mindfulness. So every day, doesn't have to be at night. I do it when I have time. So 25 minutes, I would just like sit there, and I'm basically breathing. And what I do is, I'll describe it. So I focus on my breathing, how my lungs rise when air goes into my lungs, how the breath feels when it goes through my nose, and then basically every time I lose attention, essentially I get distracted, I redirect my attention back to my breathing. And the way I do that, it helps me stay in like the present moment, and it helps stop me from reacting to my thoughts, my negative thoughts immediately. And then what happens is, with this method, the longer you do it every time, you will learn to try and not distract yourself, but try to redirect your attention from things that stress you out to things that you mean, like you care about and mean a lot to you. So yeah, with like worrisome thoughts, there's a list of questions you can ask that I found online. One of them is like, is this worrisome thought true? How is it absolutely true? How do I feel with the outcome of having that thought? How does this thought make me act? What's the outcome of believing that it's always going to go bad? How would I feel if I didn't have this thought? How would I act? And what would be the outcome if I didn't have it? You notice how in that moment it will make you feel a lot better, because you realize the negativity that you're feeling, and the worrisome thoughts you're having and the catastrophizing events, you're kind of making them worse. You're making yourself feel bad, and it's like you can use it as a way to reframe your thinking to be more positive. Another tip you could try that I've mentioned it before, but journaling. So it's basically where if I get worrisome thoughts or like anxious thoughts or something, basically what I'll do is I'll basically write them down and I'll challenge them. So I try to rationalize with myself, thinking how likely are those things to happen? Am I kind of catastrophizing about the event? Am I making it seem worse than it actually is? There are a few questions you can ask yourself. So I have like loads of questions to write down. But if I have to think of like main ones, I'd probably say, is there any evidence that basically this thought I have is true? If imagine that the worst thing could happen, would I survive it? How bad would it really be if I did go through that thing? Could I look in this situation in like a more positive way? So like, could I think, okay, this could go better than I think it's gonna go? Or I also kind of challenge the way I think too. So it's like, is this way of thinking helpful to me? Is it helping me or is it making me feel worse? Because sometimes what you notice, if you kind of acknowledge that it's making you feel worse, over time you can teach yourself, well, going to that negative thought pattern leads to this negative consequence, and it leads to that negative consequence, then what is kind of the point in going down that route? Because it's just making you feel bad. And then a big one I always do, that it always helps me anyway, if I imagine that a friend was going through the same thing as me, would I be this negative and talk to them this negatively like I would talk to myself? Probably 10 out of 10 times you would say no, you wouldn't. Yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. That's all I wanted to talk about today. There were just methods about worrying that have helped me, or I'm using and helping me so far. Obviously, not cured my worry. It's just I'm doing it every day. It's helping. It's definitely making a difference. Um, Obviously, there are more tips you can use for worrying, but these are the ones that I've researched, used, and I think work. So I hope they work for you too. And just to let you know, I've also got an Instagram now. Whoa, cool. Another platform. So I've got a Substack. I've linked that in my YouTube like bio, I'm pretty sure, but I'll link it in the end of this video as well. The Instagram's called The Mental Wellness Journey. So it'll be like an AI kind of picture of the profile, but obviously you'll see my face on the videos. You follow that if you want to. I'm going to start posting more stuff on there, like clips about like planning to talk about sleep, worry, mental wellness, looking after yourself, that kind of thing. If you're interested in that, I'll link the Instagram in the description of this video. Give it a follow. Give me a comment on all my clips to know that you came from YouTube. Really cool to see. I'll respond back. Yeah, that's all I want to talk about today. If you guys want, like, give me any ideas of what you want to see next about mental wellness, let me know. And then obviously yeah, I'll get back to you. So yeah, cool. I'll see you guys in a bit. Have a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you in a bit.